that people all over the world started inviting, come to my country and talk about, come, tell us. He was invited to Pakistan. When he came to Pakistan, they asked him what happened. He tells his story. And one of the questions was, have you ever seen a female in any of these detention facilities? Malcolm said, no, I have not seen any women in these facilities. But I have heard about a woman who has been detained in Abu Ghraib, and we refer to her as prisoner 650. I don't know who she is, but we have one that I've heard about. The minute he said that, everybody in the audience said there's only been one woman since that 9/11 until today who's been mentioned as a person of interest in the war on terror. One woman, Afia Siddiqui. So they started to say, what if this woman is Afia? So they go to Musharraf and they say, Musharraf, you wrote a book about how many people you picked up and you turned over to America to help protect, so suspected terrorists. He said, I was proud of the people I picked up. We had made this much money. I mean, you wrote a book. You can read his books. I did a bunch of them. They said, did you pick up Afia? Was she one of them? No answer. Did you turn over Afia? Was she one of them? No answer. The people of Pakistan said, we're not going to take this as no answer. Yes or no? What happened? So they said they're going to sue their own government for him to release the list of names of the people that he turned over. So they filed a suit, and this suit is going through the courts, getting passed closer to Musharraf. As it's getting very close, guess what happens? Afia Siddiqui shows up coming out of a mosque in Ghazni, Afghanistan, in the middle of a war zone. We're told on the day she was coming out, earlier that morning, there had been phone calls from security forces telling the people in Afghanistan, and especially Ghazni, to be on alert. Because there is a Pakistani woman who is threatening the governor of Ghazni. So the security are looking for a Pakistani woman who may have been making threats to the governor of Ghazni. And out comes of a mosque a woman dressed full Pakistani regalia, does not speak the language, right? Everybody else, Afghani version, nothing, just no connection. They say, wait a minute, this woman might be the person we heard about. So they go over there and they detain her. And they say, who are you? What are you doing here? Afia says, I was dropped off here, I have been let go, I've been kidnapped, and I was told to give some stuff to somebody in the mosque. I didn't find them, but here I am. Then she says, I'm Afia Siddiqui. And when that name came out, they said, hey, this is the person America's looking for. So they get on the phone and say, hey, we have Dr. Afia Siddiqui in custody in Afghanistan. Immediately, U.S. officials get on a plane, head straight to Ghazni, Afghanistan, a war zone, to talk to Afia. The chief of police had picked up Afia and put her in a building that was their security building in Afghanistan. It was a 2-story building. It's very small. From the wall to me, to that wall, to about the first or second wall. Just that big. And there's 2 floors. So the top floor is this big. In this room, there's a curtain about 1/3 of the way that goes from one wall to the other. So this side is 1/3 of the room. It's curtain. The door is on that side. Inside that room ended up being 20 people. U.S. personnel, Afghani personnel, security guards, soldiers, fully armed, like a war zone conference going on in the front of that room. And they're talking about Afia. And America says, we want to take custody of Afia. The Afghani police chief says, no, she's my prisoner. You're not taking Afia anywhere. So they're arguing over who gets custody of Afia. Now there's 2 versions of what happened next. The first version is the U.S. version. The U.S. version said that Afia Siddiqui was behind the curtain. She wasn't handcuffed, she wasn't detained. She heard them arguing. She opened the curtain. She saw a security guard in front of her. She took his M14 rifle, assault rifle, away from him, took it off of safety, fired 2 shots into the room, and said, "Death to America." One of the security guards in the room pulled out a pistol and shot her twice in the stomach. So they treated her there, put her on a plane, sent her to New York to stand trial for attempted murder of U.S. personnel. Okay? When Afia recovers, we ask her what happened. She said, "Yes, I was in the room. No, I was not in handcuffs. I was just listening to them argue about what's going on. I thought about yelling out the window. I just wanted to leave." She said that somebody opened the curtain, saw that I was back there, I was unarmed and not detained, and it scared them. They pulled out a pistol and shot me twice. I never touched a gun. I never fired a weapon. I didn't do any of that. Her brother in Houston called the Muslim Legal Fund. We said, "Yes, we'll help you put together a legal team." We went around the country. We found the best people we thought could help. Charlie Swift was one of them. Linda Marino was one of them. Joshua Draytell and several others in New York that we wanted to be a part of this. Ended up saying, if we're going to defend Afia in the right way, it looks like it's going to be about $2 million to pay these lawyers. $2 million. Once the team was together, the family approved it. We had public defenders, which were from the court, private attorneys, very awesome legal team. We didn't have $2 million to write the check, so we just started fundraising. Hey, Afia needs your money, we're going to do this. We did a few of those across the country, and then we called the Pakistani embassy in D.C. because we were aware of all of the advocacy and all the interest that she had created. And there was a lot of pressure on the U.S. Embassy Pakistan to do something. So we went to them and said, "Look, we have put together a legal team. The family's approved it. We've approved it. We think this is important. But we want you to help us fund it." They thought about it. They called us back and said, "Yes, we'll do that." So they wrote the check for $2 million. The Pakistani embassy in Washington paid the lawyers in full. Now the legal team got busy preparing for trial. They flew to Ghazni, Afghanistan. They met the chief of police. They said, "What happened?" The chief of police said exactly what Afia said. They said, "Did she take a gun away?" He said, "No." He said, "Did she shoot at anybody?" He said, "No." He said, "What happened?" He says the same thing, Afia. So we're like, okay. So if she didn't fire it, there was a gun involved. Where's the gun? It's in FBI headquarters. We subpoenaed the gun. Were there any fingerprints from Afia? No. Went to the room that it happened. Was there any gunshot residue on the curtain? Any gunshot residue on her hand? No. Were there any bullet cases found right there where she fired the weapon? No. Are there bullet holes in this room that suggest that caliber of weapon had been fired? She missed. Where did it hit? No holes. No weapon. All the forensics said it never happened. The legal team said this is the defense for Afia. Right? We're going to go to court and argue to the jury it could not have happened because nothing suggested it happened. Before they get to court, they hire what's called mock juries. They have pretend trials. So they get anonymous jurors. They set up a courtroom. They have this case. They argue the government side. They argue the defense side. And the juries keep acquitting Afia. Right? So every time they make these arguments and everybody understands it, not guilty. So now they're going to court excited. They're like, we're going to win. They go to court, they put on the same presentation. They feel extremely good about the presentation. The court, they think the juries are with them. And now the government rests, the defense rests, and it's time to turn it over to the jury. But before you can turn it over to the jury, the judge has to ask the defendant, Afia, do you want to take the stand? Do you want to get up and say anything? Now, Afia has been coming into the courtroom very traumatized every day. Afia says that she was picked up in Pakistan. She was turned over to people she does not know who they are. She has been in detention for 6 years. She's been sexually assaulted. She's been abused. She's been threatened. Her kids have been used against her. She's been through hell and back. That's her story. Now she's in U.S. custody. Now they put her in such high security that when she goes to trial every day, she's in a maximum security prison. To leave the prison facility, she has to go through what's called a cavity search. You know what that is? They search everything. So she gets cavity searched. They say, okay, you can go. She goes to court all day. When she's done and she comes back, they say you have to go through a cavity search to get back in your cell. So she gets raped twice a day to go to court. She's been through what she had already been through. She was not involved in picking her own lawyers. We had doctors, psychiatrists, who went to visit with her to see if she was mentally competent to stand trial. The medical expert we hired said no. The government sent a medical expert who said no, she's not. The government sent another medical expert who said no, she's not. The government sent a third expert who was the highest in the entire field as far as reputation to see if she could stand trial. And this expert said yes, she can stand trial. She's competent. So now they take her to court. Afia is traumatized from her experience and from how she's being treated and the fact that she had no say in who her lawyers were. We picked them. Her brother picked them. The Pakistani, we all picked them. She goes, I do not trust any of you. I fire all of my attorneys. I don't want any. They're all fired. The judge would not allow her to fire her own attorneys. So she's in court going like this. Like she's just disgusted. She's like, you guys have been talking for days about my case. Right, Tess? And you haven't mentioned once that I've been renditioned, that I've been tortured. All you talk about is 30 seconds. What happened? One way or the other. Yes or no? That's the only thing the judge was allowing in the courtroom. In other words, he was there to try the facts of that incident, not the rest of it. And so she said, this is a sham. This is a sham. Everything's a sham. I don't trust any of you. I am just getting my royal treatment, firing everybody every day, upset. But she's still in court. The trial goes on. We finish. The judge asks her, Afia, do you want to take the stand? Afia says yes. Her lawyers all like popcorn. No, Your Honor, my client doesn't want to take the stand. No, Your Honor, my client doesn't want. No. Her brother says, can I talk to her? No, don't take this. You can't help your case at all. Do not take the stand. She says, yes, Your Honor, I want to take the stand. She has the right. It's her own defense. So she takes the stand. And nobody in the courtroom is prepared for this. The lawyer she has no idea. All they know is what happened in the room. The prosecution has no idea. They're talking about what happened in the room. Afia takes the stand and they ask her, what do you want to tell us? So she says, this is what happened to me. I was picked up, I was detained, this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. And she goes on, and she pours her heart out. People start crying in the courtroom. I mean, you're like, a miracle is happening in a courtroom. You're like, this has got to affect the jury, right? You want to know what she said, it's public information. Just get the transcript of the trial. You'll hear what she said. It was very moving, it was very emotional, it was very powerful. But in a court of law, once she said that, it opened the trial up again to continue. It's not like closing arguments and that's it. So now after she made all of her story, put it on record, the prosecution gets back up and said, thank you for that very touching story. Now you said this happened. Do you have any proof that this happened? Do you have a witness? Do you, somebody see it? Do you know? Okay, now, leave that aside. You said this happened. Do you have, no. Do you, no, 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 no. I mean, they just went every detail. No. Made her say no, 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 nothing. No. So on and on and on they go. So you tell us the story, but you have nothing to support it. And yet we listened to people who said they saw you shoot that gun. Now they switched it from forensics to what she said with no proof versus what they said they were there. And it went to the jury. The jury came back with a guilty verdict. And then they sentenced her to 86 years in prison. Mind you, there are people who have shot people, killed people, and have been sentenced to less time than Afia for missing everybody, attempted. 86 years. After she got the 86-year sentence, the advocacy for her went up. People got more emotional. There were millions of people in Pakistan who marched. There were people who got all excited and said, this is a travesty. This needs to change. Something needs to happen. The Muslim Legal Fund told the family, we'll hire lawyers, we'll do an appeal, and we'll try to change this, reverse it. The family said that we don't think an appeal is going to do any good. You can do it, but it's very small chance of success. We think if we can prove her story, it'll reverse the trial. So we would like you, the Muslim Legal Fund, to do an international investigation and see if you can prove if she was detained or not. Now we said we are not the organization who has any expertise in international investigations. We can't do that. But we'll help find somebody. Well, there was an organization in New York called the International Justice Network, led by a lawyer named Tina Foster. Tina Foster had done international work. She actually had repatriated a Yemeni brother back. He got found guilty in American courts, but instead of serving time here, she got a prisoner exchange. He went back home to Yemen, and things were better for him. So she had success in repatriating. She had success in international investigations. So we said, this is the person you should work with. So we stepped back. After the trial, we have not been legally involved in her case. Since then, IJN, the International Justice Network, has done a very exhaustive investigation and have come up with recordings of people who said, the people that were there the day that she was picked up, said, yeah, we picked her up. Yes, we turned her over. Unreported. We have the reported messages of people. We have things that would blow your mind that say, yes, her stories collaborated. But so far, none of it has made it to the court. Nothing's made it through the procedurals. So it's still in limbo. It's not helping her. The biggest push is everybody says, well, just let her go back to Pakistan and serve her time in Pakistan. At least give her that, right? So when they had a prisoner over in Pakistan that the U.S. wanted, everybody said, well, look, trade. Give the U.S. this guy and give us her, right? So everybody argued that. The advocacy was huge. There was never a request from the Pakistani government to the U.S. government for anything. The facts of the case are that there's no treaty between Pakistan and the U.S. for the U.S. or Pakistan to do this. You would need to first create the treaty, then create the will for the transfer. So as advocacy goes up, no action from either government to do anything about her case. Zero. Now there's people who are continuing to keep it in the news, keep it high. Things can happen. She could get a pardon. She could let go. I mean, Allah knows best. Doesn't look good. But there are people like Maurice Salakan. He's a brother from D.C. who has spent an enormous amount of time traveling the country, educating people on her case. He just keeps her case in front of your face. And he keeps giving you updates of what's going on. And he's met the family. So he keeps people moving. So something might happen good. So Maurice Salakan, help him. Help Tina Foster with the International Justice Network. And right now, that's where we are in Afia Siddiqui's case.
تذكر يوما كنت تعانق دمعة الفكر، تناجي الله في صبر وترجو رحمة تسري، فعاش القلب إخلاصا وصرت تحوم كالطير، تحلق في ثقافات وتنهل من ربى الخير.